Hi, I'm Rory Greener from XR Today, bringing you the latest in news and conversation from the extended reality space. And today I'm joined by Frank Furnari, the CEO and founder of ARuVR. He's discussing Apple's upcoming WWDC 2024 showcase event, and specifically the potential effects on enterprise XR training and adoption following some new potential news about Apple's spatial computing promise at the event. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today, Frank. And could you kick off by perhaps telling us a little bit more about Apple Vision Pro and from your experience, how is that product making a mark on enterprise processes today?
Thank you, Rory, for having me. Well, the Apple Vision Pro was announced exactly 1 year ago, right? But it's only 4 months which is available in the market. So the time is very limited if you compare it with other devices such as Meta, HTC Vive, or Pico. Moreover, if you consider that these 4 months applied only to one single country of the entire world, which is the United States, then the time frame is super narrow to make any, I would say, conclusions or deep analysis about the Apple Vision Pro. But we all say that the Apple Vision Pro was launched for the consumer market. However, last month updates from Tim Cook and his CFO, Luca Maestri, they talked instead primarily to its usage in the enterprise market. In fact, they said that 50% of the Fortune 100 companies has purchased an Apple Vision Pro, and 80% of the use cases that they mentioned during the updates were enterprise related. So why? Well, if we look at the history of other devices or even technology, think about the mobile or the internet itself, their internal initial usages were within an institution, an organization, before even they landed into the consumer market. So it doesn't surprise me that all what we see here for the Apple Vision Pro, the initial use cases and success, it's within an enterprise market instead of consumer. And this is not about just the cost of the device or the content available, the app availability. This is simply how innovation moves in the world. ARuVR has been deployed and it's used by hundreds of global enterprises. We have made the ARuVR platform available into the Apple Vision Pro last month, and since then the response from our enterprise clients has been phenomenal. The key use case in this instance is training, or we should call it about spatial learning, which is bringing to life the so much waited and wanted experiential learning in an enterprise.
Fantastic. And speaking on that already fairly strong presence the Vision Pro is making in the enterprise space, leading into the event next week, WWDC, while there hasn't been any formal announcements outside of a few rumours here and there about what Apple might reveal about the spatial computing device. Sort of more generally speaking, how do you feel like Apple, or do you feel like Apple will deepen its productivity focus during the WWDC showcase?
Well, my guess is 100%. A couple of considerations on this matter. The Apple Vision Pro, it's the first product, the first attempt at building a computer which works and interacts with our physical space. So we could call it a prototype, right? And we all know that you need at least 2 or 3 product iterations before you get a 100% perfect and 100% fit for its purpose. But it's not all about the hardware. In fact, software, it's imperative for the success of a product. So at the WWDC next week, I would expect that Apple will announce the availability of the Apple Vision Pro in other countries, at least across 2 other continents. And also, I would expect that they will introduce the new version of their operating system, the so-called, the VisionOS 2.0. But we know, Rory, that Apple doesn't expect that the current Apple Vision Pro will become the mainstream XR product. They don't expect that. They instead need only some basic success of the Apple Vision Pro to support their vision and continue building and investing on this field.
Fantastic, and you're bringing up that regional availability as well as the VisionOS side, which I think is somewhat understated. They're doing a lot of work behind the scenes there. But in terms of their international potential international reach, how does the Vision Pro stand out in those international markets, say Europe, where certain vendors are already fairly cemented in those regions? And then perhaps within that more generally, how does the Vision Pro stand out then in the general XR device or headset marketplace, excuse me?
Right. Well, whoever tried the Apple Vision Pro, they know that its quality and the user experience is far better than any other XR handset out there currently. However, sometimes these elements are not enough to adopt XR devices in some enterprises. So, for example, in the business-to-business market, global enterprises primarily use Windows devices, right? And the world's largest personal computer vendor is Lenovo. Therefore, for enterprising sourcing the Lenovo VRX device, it's far super simple in terms of procurement processes, securement assessment, after-sales support, etc., because they already have an existing hardware contract with Lenovo. Not even mention the fact that the global reach and availability of the Lenovo VRX. In fact, I believe they are available in every country in the world, I think. So, yes, the Apple Vision Pro stand out here in terms of quality and user experience, but when we need to consider deployment of these devices into an enterprise environment, there are a number of other considerations that needs to be taken into account.
Fantastic, and then that's very insightful because I think some of those sort of smaller pieces to figure out are really key to adoption in enterprise. And sort of speaking on other vendors as well in the market, could you perhaps give us some of your thoughts on the current standing on some currently emerging but then also re-emerging brands who are in the XR space? For example, Microsoft, who are currently giving themselves a little bit of a revamp towards their HoloLens 2. LG are in a little bit of an up and down, but in a relationship with Meta at the moment for a new headset. Samsung are going to release one of theirs fairly soon. And then Google has very recently partnered with Magic Leap, a week or two, just under a week before WWDC. So do you think some of these firms, based on their current history, are perhaps taking notice of WWDC? What's their current standing? Do you think they're taking notice?
Well, we need to consider the market before the Apple Vision Pro and after the Apple Vision Pro. So before the Apple Vision Pro, we had several commercial battles between hardware manufacturers. Meta versus Pico versus HTC Vive, etc. However, when the Apple Vision Pro was launched, these battles transformed into a proper commercial war. And more players are joining this war. So you mentioned a few, but think about also Sony with Siemens, the device that they introduced. We talked about Lenovo, and also we all know that apparently that we're going to have a Samsung device in partnership with Google at the end of this year to compete with Apple Vision Pro. And not even mention the new devices which will be launched this year from existing players. We all know that Meta will launch a new device, an updated device, whatever we want to call it. But also there are rumors that also HTC Vive will do the same, and also Pico will do the same. So there are more and more devices that are pushed out there. And as in all wars, alliances are vital to win commercially. So you mentioned Microsoft, for example. So Microsoft did an alliance with Meta, productivity apps.
Yes.
Again, to compete with Apple Vision Pro. And also, you mentioned about Google with Magic Leap. We don't know the details about that partnership, but potentially it could be a brand new device. Who knows? And also, let's not forget also the move that Meta did a few weeks ago when they announced that they're going to open up their operating system Horizon to other hardware third parties manufacturers, to build their own device. And here, Asus, jump into it. You mentioned Lenovo and LG as well. So these are just a few examples of what the Apple Vision Pro has triggered into the market. In fact, I'm convinced that if the Apple Vision Pro was not launched, some of these things would have never happened. And I also strongly believe that we are just at the beginning of this war. Consider what we said at the beginning of this call, Rory. The Apple Vision Pro is just 4 months old and has already created multiple headquakes, right? So we're all looking forward for the announcement at the WWDC next week.
Brilliant. That's some really insightful thoughts. Really appreciate that. And, for our listeners talking about a journey with XR, how can they learn about your journey, about ARuVR? What's the best way for our listeners to get a little bit more information about the hard work you're doing?
Yeah, well, the easy way to do it's to go to our website, which is aruvr.com. If you go into the news section, you're going to see all the latest updates, the latest case studies, the latest success, and also, from the website you can request a dedicated call, so we can share with you our journey so far with the Apple Vision Pro.
Fantastic, great. Thank you so much for your experience and your insight. It's always so fascinating to learn more about the industry from you. Thank you so much for your time today, Frank.
Thank you very much, Rory.
Brilliant, thank you. That's it from myself. You can get more XR news by subscribing to the XR Today news channel and by following our social pages. Thank you.